you from the studios of Adaba FM. Good afternoon, and I apologize for coming by schedule. Welcome to today's edition of the Roundtable. My name is Dimeji, and joining me on the program this afternoon is APC Chieftain, and in fact, he was governorship aspirant during the last APC primaries in 2016. Chief Bukola Adetula, you're welcome on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's been a while.
Yes, it has been a while. Always glad to be back at Adaba.
But you've always been around.
I stay around.
Not there, okay?
I keep in touch.
Okay.
I make sure you are doing everything you should be doing and doing it properly. And making sure Adaba continues to provide all the necessary information your listeners need.
Okay, let's begin by looking at Ondo State. You contested the primaries in 2016. Many of you did. Eventually, Adetula won. From 2016, between that time and now, Adetula won the election in 2016, was sworn in 2017. If you look between that time and now, would you say your party, the APC, has really done well in Ondo State?
I think what APC has been able to do in the last few years is basically bring some type of stability to Ondo State, to the Ondo State faction of the APC. And I know it's public knowledge. You all know that in the last several months, APC as a party has struggled. But putting aside the struggles for a minute, what we've been able to do, at least since the election and during the election in 2016, 2017, was really bring all our voters out, bring all our people out, condense our power. We were able to take control of Alagbaka. APC won the governorship, and we proceeded from that point. Not like any other process, sometimes you run into hiccups. You travel on a journey, sometimes the road is rough, and we've experienced some rough times. So we're going through it. APC is a great family, it's a wonderful family, and just like any other family anywhere, your individual family, state-run families, you run into some hiccups. So we are going through some teething problems now. We are working on those things. It's a matter of time before the family is back together as one huge, wonderful, happy family, and we're looking forward to future activities of the APC and future elections in the years to come.
Adetula, you did not answer my question. My question was that, do you think the government being run by your party has done well?
Well, look, as you know, APC holds power in Abuja. As a party,
I'm talking about Ondo State.
I understand, and I'm coming to that. As a party at the federal level, we've obviously done well. President Buhari was voted into power again, right? And he has another 4 years to be able to do what he has promised us as people here in Nigeria to do for the nation of Nigeria. Now, of course, power has to trickle down from the top, and when you now trickle it down to the level, at the Ondo State level, yes, APC took control of Ondo State in the last few years. The APC government has been able to put in place a number of projects. We've been a little bit sidelined by some of the inner ramblings within the party. So that has distracted us, and to that extent, we have not been able to focus fully on...
That was your own making?
Well, no, I think it's the making of a combination of factors, a combination of variables.
Factors from people within the party?
I'm sorry?
Outsiders? I said factors from people within the party.
Yes, but
no outsiders.
Yes, but you cannot.
APC is making.
You cannot exclude outsiders. Also, you must always remember also that before APC took control of Alagbaka a few years back, APC was not in control of Ondo State. So a lot of things had been done prior to APC taking control. A lot of damage had been done in Ondo State. Ondo State was on the brink of really falling apart.
Chief Adetula, sorry to cut in. Do you know, if you ask some people in Ondo State, they will say 2 years into Mimiko's administration that he had done far better than what Adetula has done by now?
Yes.
Do you know, they have people who say that?
They may say that. However, they have to also remember that what did Mimiko inherit from the previous administration? Mimiko inherited an administration from Governor Agagu that had at least some level of stability here in Ondo State. But in this case now...
about distraction, that Agagu government was also in court from day one, was also distracted.
Yes, they were distracted,
yes.
But Governor Agagu himself was not distracted from what he had to do.
So why should Adetula be distracted?
It's not that Adetula is being distracted. What I'm saying is that the destruction, the level of rot that had occurred in Ondo State over many years of the previous administration before Governor Akeredolu took over. Those are things an APC administration had to now deal with.
Chief Adetula, I don't think the governor himself would agree with you. Why? Because there was a time when he was to take over from Mimiko, he himself commended Mimiko.
Well, he had the right to commend Mimiko. For those of us who participated in the primary, you will recall I did not commend Governor Mimiko. I thought he could have done a lot better for the people of Ondo State. I was very, very concerned about the fact that a lot of our workers here in Ondo State were owed several months of salaries in those days, and that was something that I stood up against. I spoke strongly against. So that in of itself was a task. So now that APC is in power, we are doing what we have to do, try to amend things, to improve things, to make things better. And so people, of course, different people will have different opinions. We have to live with the different opinions. What really happens at the end of the day is where we get to, where we take Ondo State to. That is at that point where I think it would be fair for us to measure how good or how bad APC has been in Alagbaka. But I think it's really unfair at this point to try and judge our performance without taking into consideration. Without taking into consideration the fact that we had inherited a lot of problems.
Okay. Now, you've said your party brought some sort of stability to the state, to governance in the state. Now let's look at your party at the state level. There are a lot of issues. I remember there was a time the likes of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu back when they came to the state trying to enjoy the unity within the party. There are those who even say that the lack of unity within the party led to the loss of President Muhammadu Buhari in the last presidential election in Ondo State. He was defeated here by Atiku Abubakar of the PDP. Now, looking at your party, with a lot of some people calling for the reconstitution of the state ESCO, and so many other calls like that. Do you see your party working as a unit for future elections?
Without a doubt. I said it in the beginning. Just like any other family, you have to expect from time to time you go through problems. We are going through that stage. It's public knowledge. We don't need to pretend. We understand that not everybody within the party is happy. We understand that the party is divided. We understand that there are different factions within the party that disagree with each other. But that's the essence of being a part of a family. You disagree to later on agree. And that's why we need to commend the efforts of leaders of the APC who have taken it upon themselves. As you pointed out, former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Tinubu, was here in Ondo State, basically to jumpstart that process, to begin to put in place the foundation that we will need to rebuild upon so that we can bring everybody together within the party. We can bring the various factions together so that there can be unity within the party. That process has started. I think you should give the process a little bit more time. You'll be amazed that APC is going to come out of this feeling bigger, better, and stronger, and ready to take upon future elections.
Let me ask you, Chief Adetula. I've listened to positions of people like Borofi's, the former Deputy Governor Leo Lanusi, even Shegwe Brown. Some of them I've interacted with some of them, and people within the party hierarchy in Ondo State and people in government. What is your own personal position on how the party has been run as a state, especially under Dimeji?
Well, look, it saddens me sometimes simply because...
Would you say it has been inclusive?
Well, look, it's been inclusive to an extent. Not totally inclusive.
It's not inclusive.
Folks like myself, well, listen. Folks like myself, we find it troubling that we are not able to comfortably visit our state EXCO offices. We are not comfortable relating with our EXCO officials. But those are the realities of disagreement. And when people disagree, all you have to do is you must come back to the discussion table. You must come back to talk. We are not going to fight it out in public. We are going to go into open consultations. We are going to continue to talk, and we'll continue to work on the issues. So everybody has a different view. Some, I mean, you mentioned Senator Boniface. Senator Boniface has spent the last couple of years focused upon what needs to be done to move this state forward, to move this country forward. Some of us have spent a lot of time focusing more on business investments, looking at how opportunities can be developed to help make Ondo State a better place business-wise. So for me, I have somewhat been a bit distracted from the political activities, not as focused upon them as I was in the past, because I've spent a lot of time traveling quite a bit, developing relationships, developing opening up discussions with prospective investors who are eyeing Ondo State as a state where they can actually bring investment into in the area of agriculture. So again, it's not unusual to have difference of opinions. I respect the opinions of several of our APC leaders, but what is key, and I keep saying this, what is key is the fact that a strong effort is underway to bring things back to where they should be so that we can begin to develop further.
You are no woman.
Yes, I am.
So Akeredolu is your kinsman.
Yes, he is.
Am I right to say that?
Yes, he is.
So there are those who say that his leadership style has caused a lot of trouble, not just within government, but within the party. What do you say to that?
Well, look, I've always known him as a big brother. I've respect him as an individual. I have not been part of government. I have not contributed to government. I have not taken time to really study what's been going on within the government, because
as I said, within the party.
We have people within the party who are focused on.
Do you like Akeredolu's leadership style?
I really haven't paid much attention to it, to be really honest with you. As I said, I have done a lot of traveling. I've traveled internationally.
Chieftain Adetula, you're from this state.
Yes,
and you're from Owo.
Yes, sir.
Surely you must have been interacting with people as a politician, so you must have your ears to the ground. So, what do you think about Akeredolu's leadership style?
I think
Let me put it that way.
I think I have my ears to the ground. I keep in touch with what goes on in Ondo State, yes, and I hear what people say. And just like any other governor we've had in the past, you have some people who have good things to say about our governor. You'll also have people who have not so good things to say about
what's your own personal opinion about his style?
Well, that's why I try to explain to you that I haven't really taken time to study his style. I haven't been around much to be able to focus on his style. But I think, look, at the end of the day, when the 4 years are up, it's really what Ondo State has been through and what successes we record in the 4 years. That's really going to be the measuring gauge, and should be the measuring gauge for how well a governor does or how badly a governor does. He's been in there for about 2.5 years, I think. Give him time. He still has about 1.5 years. He'll have critics. He'll have those who commend him. But I don't think it's fair for me to take a position on something that I have not had enough time to really study, to watch, or be a part of, or be close to, because I really have spent more time on other things that I think will benefit Ondo State in other ways.
Let's look at this project. There are those who agree that has done a lot in the area of road construction, but that there are other sectors like health which have been neglected. What's your take on the projects of this administration?
I've read about some of the interesting projects. I've heard some good comments. Those of us in our thought happily and gladly that we now have some good roads in Owo. I think that's a good starting point. As far as the health sector is concerned, there is time for that. As long as the right people are put in place who understand what it takes to develop the health sector, what it takes to equip the health sector. It's a sector that I'm very passionate about. I have spent many years supporting different health institutions, both here at home and abroad. My wife is a medical doctor. She's passionate about her profession. As you know, I built a medical clinic in Owo to memorialize my father's name. It's a medical clinic that I have mandated must provide medical services to the indigenes of Owo without charging them a single kobo. So it's an area I'm passionate about. I believe it's essential. I continue to support that clinic, and when you do things like that, you develop various relationships across the nation and across the world. And we talk to people in the health sector all the time. There is a strong need to build and develop the health sectors, not just here in Ondo State, but in other states and as well, and the nation as a whole. So I think there is time for that. I think Ondo State still has a lot to do in the area of health. I hope that with time we can focus on health as one of those areas that must be developed, and I hope we can find the right people who understand what it takes to build, develop, and maintain the health sector in a way that it will be able to provide adequate medical services to our people here in Ondo State.
If you look at successive government, not just in Ondo State, but in Nigeria, they say each time they campaign, politicians come around to say, oh, we'll lift people out of poverty. 5 million people will be lifted out of poverty and all of that. Let's come to Ondo State. From the time that Aketi, or let me say your party, took over government in Ondo State, governors in Ondo State, would you say what you knew before and what you know now, would you say that people have really been lifted from poverty?
I can only speak for those who are close to me and around me, you know. I come from a huge family. I see my nephews, my nieces, my uncles, my aunts.
What do you hear from them?
I see the relatives. And I see that the quality of life has fallen. I see that poverty seems to have increased somewhat for them in my immediate circles. And those are the things that create the type of inspiration that gets me going, that makes me more determined that we must do something to help alleviate the poverty around us. We can't walk around with our eyes closed and continue to the belief that everything is right.
Why do you think that has been from successive government?
Look, I think clearly one of the things we have to always keep in mind, and this is one thing that always troubles me, and sometimes maybe it's because of my experience, my life experiences, or my exposures. I think voters in most of our voting areas in this country, whether in the local governments or at the state level or federally, I think we focus too much upon the wrong things in determining who our leaders should be. I think we need to start really thinking about focusing upon putting in leadership positions people who can lead by example, people who can feel our pain.
No money bags.
Exactly.
Not necessarily.
It shouldn't always be about
people who have the back of godfathers.
Yes, it shouldn't be. It should be about people who really care about the people. Leaders who have listening ears.
Who have compassion.
We end up having a whole host of arrogant leaders whom we cannot speak with, leaders who cannot come down to the level of the average man. Look, I have traveled far and wide. Many years ago, I was honored in Brazil by the legislature there in Brazil. And I remember, why was that? Simply because I had held the hands of a number of Brazilian companies to help them open doors in the international world and create opportunities for them. In other parts of the world, people emphasize that people look to leaders who lead, not dictators, not rulers, not people who just tell us what they want to do. People who consult, who sit down, consult with experts in the field and set a standard, set a pathway, design a plan, put in place policy that will bring significant difference to the lives of our people. So no matter how much we tend to want to criticize the people we put in power, we must always remember that we are the ones who put them in power. We are the ones with the power to vote. We are the ones who can dictate and determine who should lead us. But unfortunately, we live in a society where there is so much poverty. It's always about money. People are ready to sell their votes for a couple of naira, and at the end of the day, they suffer.
And the leaders know that too. They keep bringing money.
And they keep bringing money, and people keep stealing money. So we have to change that. And the earlier we go back to the design table and try and put in place a system where, as we voters, we determine what direction our lives go through the types of leaders we elect.
What do you think, Chief, that maybe years of neglect of the masses by the government or lack of trust. Because if you interact with voters, someone will tell you, we're not going to get anything in 4 years, so why don't we get what we can get?
It's a defeatist attitude, and it's an attitude that must change. And I've always said this, we need to go back to ground zero. We need to reorient our people. The vote is very powerful. Parents need to begin to teach their children. They're 6-year-old kids, they're 7-year-old kids, 8-year-old children, that they have a voice. Their voice can be important. Children should be able to speak to their fathers and mothers few days before elections. Mommy, daddy, you are going out to cast a vote. Are you going to cast a vote based upon what you will be able to eat today? Or are you looking at us, we, your children, that you have brought to this world? We didn't ask to be brought to this world. Are you going to cast your vote based upon what you believe will be in the best interest of we, our children? Children need to talk to parents. You know, our parents have given up. Unfortunately, we the older ones, we the parents, we've more or less given up on leadership. So it's now time for the young ones. If the older ones won't listen, the younger ones must engage. I have children. At a young age, many years ago, my 7-year-old son will engage me. Daddy, who are you going out there to vote? Why are you voting for that person? What has that person done for the community? What projects can you talk about? What type of individual is he? What type of exposure does he have? What policies will he put in place? 7-year-old kids, 8-year-old children can engage their parents in these discussions. Enough of this nonsense of just going to the voting booth and casting your vote because of some peanut 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira. It's ruining our societies. It's destroying our children. We need to wake up. We need to be more conscious of the legacy we are going to leave behind. When we go, when we die, what will society say of us? What will the people in our community say about that individual who represented that community? It's important. That's the way it used to be many years ago when I was a youngster. We had leaders who were conscious of that, who always talked about the type of legacy they wanted to leave behind. But these days, it's about throwing wealth around, throwing money around. And I look at a lot of our leaders. What they throw around, you think that is wealth? They haven't seen wealth. When you go to places where there is wealth and see how people utilize that wealth to make the difference in the lives of people, you will be amazed how much more money you can make back over time. It's incredible. But people don't see this, and people are just drawn to the polling booths because of what amount of money they're going to make.
Every 4 years, a president is elected. Nigerians yearn for change, for a new direction, or a new policy direction that will bring them good tidings and all of that. And then after 4 years, it's the same old story. And then they elect another president. It's the same old story. And things keep getting worse. Only yesterday, Showore, publisher of Sahara Reporters, was arrested because he said he wanted to lead a revolution. Years from now, going down the line, years from now, if things continue this way, what do you see?
Well,
have they lived in other developed climes?
The pivotal word there is if. If they continue this way. I'm an optimist. I really believe things will change. I don't necessarily think things will change in my lifetime. I don't. I have given up hope about change. Good change, significant change happening in my life.
Your life.
But I think in my lifetime we can begin to sow
to lay the foundation.
To lay the foundation.
But with what you see today in Nigeria, do you think that foundation is being laid?
I think we are beginning to sense it. We're beginning to see the basic design of it. I think once the design
from this government, from this government.
Yes, I see that. I see a government that is beginning to care more about the people. I see a government that is beginning to think about the future of the people through several of the programs they are putting in place. They have many agricultural related programs that are helping to uplift people from poverty. They are putting in place various programs that are helping educationally. I'm looking to encourage many of our leaders to put in place programs that can take many of our youth out of this country to go abroad, to go and study abroad, to learn from various systems abroad, and bring it back to Nigeria to help make Nigeria a better place. The oil and gas sector, many years ago, it was controlled significantly by expatriates and expatriate groups who are basically controlling our oil and gas system. That has changed. Now there's been a slow process by which technology in oil and gas has been transferred slowly and steadily to our own engineers, our petroleum experts, our own designers. So things are changing. Those seeds are being laid, and it's a matter of time before you begin to feel the change. It is coming, it is there.
If you ask some people, they will tell you that this Buhari's government has been non-responsive, has not paid attention to the feelings of the people.
I totally disagree. I think they have. Again, you always have to remember, what did President Buhari inherit? What did President Buhari inherit?
Do we have to keep making excuses, Chief?
It's not an excuse, it's the reality.
Because that's what the APC, that's what some people say the APC government does. Each time people complain, they say, PDP didn't do well.
No, I'm not one of those who will say they didn't do well.
Well, you're saying that.
No, what I'm saying is they did the best they could do, but what they did was bad. So I'm not saying they didn't do well. They tried. They were very limited in knowledge, in ability, in skill, in dedication, and in all those areas that you need to be able to put good governance in place. So they failed us. They did the best they could, but their best was not good enough. It was woeful.
There are those who say now that the Buhari government is failing us again.
Well, that's why I said earlier on, it's because of what they inherited. They didn't start off from a clean slate. If they had started off from a clean slate, I think you would have seen...
Well, yeah, 4 years is having another 4 years.
Oh, yes, but hey, you know how many years PDP was around for? You know how many years they spent destroying this nation?
Having to mention PDP each time Nigerians complain.
No.
Especially from the APC.
No, what we mustn't do is, I'm not one who believes in criticizing the PDP for what they did. As I said, I think they did the best they could. Now, what we are saying and what I'm saying is that based upon that so poor best that they did, we now had to start from negative, we APC. So we need time to even get back on ground, to get to ground zero, before we can now begin to develop. I'm not criticizing.
You say the party is going fast enough?
It takes time. Everything good takes time. Give them more time. Give us more time. President Buhari, 4 years is not enough.
Let's go back to Ondo State. You've lived in developed times. If you look at Ondo State, what do you think is that magic wand that could turn around the fortunes of the state, the economy of the state, from a largely civil service state to a productive economy?
It's very simple. Industrialization, industrialization, industrialization. I have said it over and over again.
How should government go about it?
The government has to look to the private sector. The government has to bring the people of Ondo State together. The government has to encourage businessmen and women here in Ondo State to come forward, come to a round table. It's not enough to just put policy in place. You must encourage investors. We can take lessons from Lagos State. Lagos State is miles and miles and years ahead of Ogun State. But let's even move into Ogun State. See what is happening in Ogun State. See how industries are popping up all over Ogun State. And then come to Ondo State and look around from one end of Ondo State to the other end of Ondo State. We don't have a single major industry. How do you survive without that?
What do you think that the government is not getting right? What should they do that is not doing?
I don't know if it's what the government is not getting right. I think it is what we need that we need to focus upon, which is we need to focus upon small, medium, large-scale industries coming into Ondo State. And we must put a plan. It doesn't have to be a plan put in place only by government. The private sector can come together. I keep saying it. When you look at the multitude number of our indigents of Ondo State who have significant investments in other parts of the world, all we'll be asking for them is bring 20% or 30% of that investment here to Ondo State, and Ondo State will change overnight. They are that powerful. They have that financial power to change things. So we need to put a plan in place to encourage investors to come home. It's not enough for government to just talk about, oh, we need to industrialize. No. What is the plan? Government needs to put together a committee that will be made up of government officials, business people here in Ondo State, and business people all over the world. Come together for a round table. Let's put heads together. Let's develop a way forward. Then government has to reach out. They must reach out to the diaspora. This is not an in-house business only. Too many of our indigenes are stashing substantial amounts of money in bank accounts abroad, making good money, not knowing what to do with their money, wanting to bring that money into Ondo State. So Ondo State must reach out. Government must reach out to bring these folks home. I have spent the last several days in different parts of the state. For instance, I have here visiting with me one or two prospective investors that came in with me from Lagos, talking about areas in which they can invest in Ondo State and looking at the terrain, looking at what they can do in the area of agriculture. But they need to be encouraged. It's not enough just to say, Ondo State, we have a website, put up a website and tell people to go onto the website. If you have investment ideas, come to Ondo State. It doesn't work that way. You need to go out and go and encourage them, bring them home, pull them home.
Talk to them, give
them assurances. People want to be sure that their money is secure. People want to be sure that security in the state is where it should be for themselves and their families. They want to be sure they are individually safe, their properties are safe, and their investments are safe. It may require us putting in place insurance programs that will ensure such investments so that people do not take a loss. So we still have a long way to go in the area of industrialization. In fact, we are not scratching the surface yet. But hopefully with time we'll be able to do that.
There was a time that your brother, the governor, your kinsman, said that is looking to invest in turning marijuana into a money-making venture. A lot of people were for, some people were against it. Some people said it was a good move. Some said it was bad for Nigeria, not even to talk about Ondo State. What's your take on it?
Look, you know my experience, my background. I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I have been so for 32 years. I have defended a number of people who have been arrested either for using or distributing or producing marijuana. I come from a world where marijuana is illegal. It's a crime here.
But you live in the U.S. There are states in the U.S. where medical marijuana, recreational marijuana is legal.
Yes, that is correct, but the approach, the process is totally different. You don't just go out and begin to grow marijuana. So that is a project that is 50, 70 years in the making in the U.S. What we need to do is to take time, first of all, to build Ondo State, to develop our various states. I think the marijuana subject is a subject for the future. For the future, it's a product of the future. As I said, I defend those who use them when they get arrested. I have never used it. I've never had the pleasure of using it. Some people say it's pleasurable. I will never know the pleasure because I don't plan to use it, but it's what it is.
Okay, not just in Ondo State, but across the country, there's an army of youth, unemployed youth. And in a place like Ondo State has its own fair share of these people who want to work, but one, are not employed, and then are not employable. Because one, the quality of education and all of that. Some of these people have taken to political thuggery. Some of them go around with politicians with the hope of a better tomorrow. But then it's really things that are not really changing. How do you think that Ondo State can tap into these human resources to better the lot of this youth and the state?
You know, late yesterday evening, I had the pleasure to visit our Olowo-elect. Yesterday. It gave me an opportunity to spend time with him and to congratulate him on his recent election as the incoming Olowo. And this was a subject that I addressed with him because it's a subject that's very close to my heart. And I'm extremely delighted by the response I got from KBC elect when I spent time with him yesterday, because it's a problem that he also has identified. It's a problem we're suffering from, not just in other parts of Ondo State, but specifically in Owo. And I'm glad to hear that even he has various ideas that he's beginning to play around with in his mind as areas by which we can create employment for this teeming youth. It's very important. It's not going to be enough to create industries that employ 5 or 10 people. We need to start thinking of medium to large size industries that will create employment in substantial numbers for our people. And that is something that, again, I'm very passionate about. You know, over the years when I was an aspirant in the last primary, this was something I spoke about over and over again. We need to do that. That is the only way we are going to be able to create employment for our youth. When we create that alternative for them, then you will begin to see that less number of young youth will be turning to thuggery or falling around with politicians and
cyber fraud
and doing those things that they shouldn't be doing. As I say, politics is not a profession. I mean, politics in of itself is not a profession. It's not an occupation. It amazes me when you meet some young fellow and you say, what do you do for a living? And he says, I'm into politics, so I'm a politician. And I say to him, is that a source of income? No, it's not. You know, so in the process, we'll begin to retrain some of those who have been trained, who have not been able to find employment in their respective fields of previous training. They can be retrained into other areas. It's time to begin to look at the agricultural sector very, very strongly as a sector that can feed quite a number of industries. There's a huge market for agricultural products, not just here within Nigeria, but export. We need to look at those prospects. We have a trade-free zone here in Ondo State. Look at that trade-free zone. What can we do with the trade-free zone? Can we get investors?
Is that even in effect at all?
Well, it's in effect to the extent that at least we have that status. There may be a few things that need to be done. I'm not close enough to that to know the exact status of that.
If you look at other places where there's free trade zones, and you compare to what Ondo State as, would you say that is really in effect?
Well, I think what we need to do with our trade-free zone really is look for ways and manners by which we can encourage foreign investors to come, invest in the trade-free zone area, create employment for our youth, but also make it easy for them to develop products on the trade-free zone and then ship it back to their respective nations. But the caveat there is being able to create the type of products that will be acceptable in other parts of the world. You see, because we can't just...
Quality is key.
It's very key. You must have quality, you must have standards. So I think those are one of the things we can tap into the trade-free zone for. Many countries, I mean, you look at places like China. China is looking for areas where they can basically grow their own food, the food their people will eat. In China, they're fast running out of space to build and develop their own agricultural products. They're looking for parts of the world where they can go to and grow their own food and then ship it back to China so that their people won't starve. These are things we can tap into. We can send a contingent to China to go and sit down with the agricultural leaders there and see if we can encourage them to come and utilize our trade-free zone. Now, I'm mindful of the fact that we've talked greatly about the need for Ondo State to have a deep sea port, because obviously that will be key. We need a way and manner by which stuff can come in and stuff can go out. I'm not suggesting we develop things in the trade-free zone and then we now have to put them on trailer trucks and begin to send them down to Lagos to ship out. That would defeat the whole purpose. But we've been blessed in Ondo State with the type of depth we need.
Untapped.
Exactly.
Untapped.
It's untapped, but there's many investors who will be more than happy to come and sit down and talk about our deep sea port, the prospects it has, what it can do for us as a people, as a nation, and we need to spend time focusing upon that, get the federal government involved in that, bring everybody to the table. Let's see if we can quickly develop that port. Let's build up on the trade-free zone. And I once had a meeting with a businessman, a foreign businessman, and he was saying to me, look, the entire palm oil that is produced in the entire country of Nigeria, he says as an individual, he can buy it all up. Every single drop in the whole nation of Nigeria. And he has enough money to do that and has the market for it. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that amazing? So we're blessed with palm oil here in Ondo State. We need to build it. Governor Ajashi of blessed memory started that process for us. The whole process has been run aground. We need to go back to it. There's a huge market for palm oil. There's huge demand for palm oil. Go online. Just go online and look at the thousands of companies all over the world looking for where and how they can buy palm oil. And yet we have so much of that here in Nigeria, especially in
talking about free trade agreement. Nigeria signed one recently, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. A lot of people have said that Nigeria is not rightly positioned to tap into this because there are things that have to be in place. You've talked about proper infrastructure, the energy is key as well. And then if you look at some of the quality of some of the products that are coming out of Nigeria, even the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, some of them kick against that. There are some things that government needs to put in place before signing that agreement. What's your take on the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement?
Look, it's been signed. I think what we need to do is, look, we have enough professionals in this place. We know what we need to make that agreement work. We know what we need to make it workable. We know the types of standards that are available. It's not the knowledge we are lacking. Let's be very clear.
What about the will?
It's the will, without a doubt, and the need to quickly come to terms with the reality that sometimes things take a long time to put in place. We are always looking for shortcuts, quick ways, quick solutions. It's in our DNA. We need to change that.
Would you blame the people for being like that? Maybe they've been patient over time and then they look to the rest of the world and they see that Nigeria has been left behind.
Look, I blame somewhat the fact that there are struggles. Hunger is a very powerful thing, you know. Try staying 2-3 days without eating. See how you will feel. Maybe we'll begin to feel as leaders how our people are feeling when they cannot feed their families. So do I blame them for looking for shortcuts? No. Now my focus is upon the professionals, those who are going to be charged with the responsibility of making sure that the agreement works, who are charged with the responsibility of making sure that the right standards are put in place, being the professionals who will monitor and assure that those standards are met so that when our products leave this country and go out of this country, we can proudly stand by the quality of what we are putting out. In short, let us keep our dirty clothing in-house. When we start thinking of going out there, let us make sure we have the right approach, and we must rely upon our professionals to be able to do that. I think if those checks and balances are put in place, the agreement is an agreement that can stand, that can be built upon, that can help bring better things and better opportunities to the Nigerian sectors.
Chieftain Adetula, people believe that maybe sometime next year that the APC in Ondo State will conduct governorship primaries. There are those who, some say that the governor should be allowed to have another shot at the governorship. What's your take? Do you think primaries should be held to allow everybody to be part of it, or the governor should just be allowed to go once more?
No, I think the primaries should be held. I think the governor has
and I think he should submit himself to that process.
Oh, I think so, and I think he will agree with me on that. I don't see him as somebody who, is looking to short circuit the process. I think he, like every other person who may be interested in being governor of Ondo State, should be able to participate in the primary and let the party decide who its flag bearer will be for the next 4 years. If the party decides that the governor should get another 4 years, then so be it. He'll get it and he'll move on as the flag bearer of the APC. On the other hand, if there are other individuals who are just as qualified, who are interested in being governor, who have programs and ideas for the state, and who are willing to contest in the primaries and are willing to go through the rough and tumble of a primary, I welcome them to do that. I think it will be exciting.
What do you expect from the party this time around? Because the one in 2016 became, at some point, I don't want to use the word riotous because there were issues after the primaries. What do you expect from the party this time around?
Exactly what the party is doing, which is put in place a foundation, bring everybody together, let heads come together, let us decide what the best approach is for the party, let the leaders of our party take a lead, and let us, basically as all stakeholders in the party, contribute to what we believe as members of the party will be best for our party. I think once they do that, we'll be able to have a primary, one that will be free and fair, and whoever emerges as the APC primary candidate at that point will be able to go on to the general election and fight it out.
Okay, fight it out. Okay, because Gambia has not started. I want to thank you very much, Chief Bukola Adetula, for coming on to this edition of the Roundtable. This is where we draw the curtain. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure. Always good to see you.
My name is Dimeji. Thank you for being part of the program. Good afternoon.
This is Adaba 89 FM. Don't touch it.